So are you looking for ways to grow a mature paid media account where you're probably at a point where you're facing diminishing returns? The reality is no account can keep indefinitely growing, and at some point it's going to slow down, and tactics other than just spending more media are going to have to come into play. My name's John Wilkes. I'm one of the co-founders of Somebody Digital, and we're a full service agency focused on an integrated approach to marketing. And by that, I mean it's whatever tactic, channel, tool is needed to get the growth from the business is what we do. And sometimes with a paid media account, looking at other ways, which is typically conversion rate optimization of the pages that you're sending that traffic to, is where you can get those next lifts. I'm joined on the call today by Michael McCann, who's head of conversion rate optimization at Somebody Digital. And we're going to talk about some of the strategies and tactics of how to grow these mature paid media accounts. And Michael, I know you wanted to start with a graphic that I think helps explain this concept a little bit more.
Yeah, great. Thanks, John. So here we've got the formula that determines your online revenue, and there's three levers that impact your revenue. So you've got visitors, conversion rate, and lifetime customer spend. And then what we kind of generally deal with a lot of customers who spend a lot of time focusing on driving more visitors to their site. And that's one key lever, but as we've touched upon and we're going to talk about more, you can see diminishing returns as you drive that. So what we're looking at today is how you optimize that other lever of conversion rate to generate growth and ultimately more revenue.
Mm-hmm. Yes. So I think, Michael, let's just start at the beginning, just so people that are maybe new to this, like what specifically is conversion rate optimization?
Yeah, so quite simply, it's a system for influencing and converting a high proportion of your website visitors to buy and spend more, generate leads, kind of whatever your key conversion metric is. It uses the same scientific method that we use in chemistry, geology, social sciences to validate the impact of those changes we make. So it's kind of statistically and scientifically backed in the way we do it. But at the core, it's driven by research into what challenges your customers face and implementing potential solutions to fix those to improve the overall conversion rate for them.
Ultimately, is how do we get more people to do what we want them to do when they land on that website? And conversions can be transactions, social follows, moving to the next step. There's so much that comes within the package of conversion rate optimization, right?
Yeah, and so the outcomes we look for is to increase your overall sales, increase your average order value, lifetime customer spend, and reduce your customer acquisition costs. Kind of the core outputs we get from increasing your conversion rate.
And the question that I know some of my clients have asked is like, how do you know when you've hit diminishing returns on a paid media account? Like, when should you start to do other things? And there's no hard and fast rule here, but a bit of a rule of thumb is if you've got a keyword that's up maybe like 50-60% impression share, and you want to kind of crank that up a little bit to get that from 50-60% to kind of more 70-80, often the jump in cost per click is considerable, and the return from that investment in the additional cost per click isn't always there. So what we like to say is when you kind of get to that point, a more sensible tactic is then, okay, let's look at where we're driving all this other much more qualified traffic typically to the site. What are the landing pages? What are the pages of the site? And can we get more squeeze out of that traffic and get more people to do what we want? So that's a bit of rule of thumb of this, is your account at that mature stage. So Michael, where should someone start when they're looking to optimize a website if they've not done any of this kind of work before?
So there's two places, and I'll cover both of them. The first is in your analytics and your data of where people go, and there you're looking for the biggest opportunity. And a lot of people will approach that with looking for maybe the poorest converting landing pages or parts of your site where you send traffic, and that can be a good place to look. But actually, the core of it and where we look is actually where the largest volume flows. When we're looking at improving conversion rate, we're usually looking at incremental improvements. So 5, 10, 15% improvements on your baseline, not 100, 200%. So we can potentially target some of your poorest performing pages, but if there's not a lot of volume going through those pages, you're not going to see the scale of return, and it's not the biggest opportunity. The second part of that is then understanding what your customers' blockers and conversion barriers are. That's second piece of the puzzle is where's the biggest opportunity and what challenges do our customers face. If you understand
Yes.
both of those, then you can start to improve conversion.
Yes. So how we often say it right is analytics will tell you where people are dropping off. It typically won't tell you why they're dropping off. So when you're in your analytics and you're looking at funnels and what's going on, you'll see friction and people are struggling to get past this stage, but it doesn't give you the why. And that's when you start to layer in what Michael said, the direct customer research, when you're looking at user testing studies, heat maps, click maps, scroll maps, all this kind of information that will say, okay, they're dropping off at this point, and this is specifically why, which will help influence what kind of tests that we will then bring into play to try and either get more people to move through or to stop them just dropping off. Michael, what are some of the potential B2B blockers to conversion?
So when we're talking B2B, we're generally thinking SaaS kind of business, lead generation, those type of things. And the big conversion blocker that pains a lot of people is giving away your details, the fear that maybe you're kind of not talking to the right people, the product isn't right for you, and then you're going to have that sales agent calling you, emailing you for the next 6 months when you're not interested. So kind of that sort of getting over the blocker of giving your details away is a real concern for people. And a lot of that focuses maybe on market fit. So you're looking to reassure customers that actually the product's what they're looking for. Is this kind of reputable, trusted? So social proof comes into a lot to help sort of validate that for people, and something we often test.
Yeah, and that's all the information about getting people to give you their details. And those people that come and are ready to give you the details, some of the testing there around putting their mind at ease about what's going to happen next, right? To say who's going to call you back, how soon they're going to call you back. Like little things like this make a huge difference to that person before they're about to fill in that form.
Yeah, setting the expectation for a potential customer is a massive removal of doubt in that what might pull them back and block their conversion. A lot of the time, it's kind of not understanding what's going to happen next can be a real big block for people.
Okay. What are some potential B2C blockers to conversion?
So when we're talking B2C, we often e-commerce is a big example for this for us. And here, a classic would be around delivery. So when am I going to get my product? How much is it going to cost to get delivered? Kind of that unknown, similar to what we were just talking about with some of the setting expectations, can be a really big area to focus on and signpost for users that maybe the delivery is free. Maybe you're going to get this in 3 to 6 days, delivered the next day, shipped from my warehouse in 24 hours. All these types of signposting things can be a really good example of a blocker for people when they're on an e-commerce website.
Yeah, and an extra tip that we could give people here when you're looking for what can you add to your site to help people convert, we find is there's a direct customer research, but there's often the customer service team in-house, right, that are dealing with people all the time, that know the kind of questions that people ask. And we've had so much success when we speak to those internal teams and bring some of that insight further up the funnel and on the actual website to help people convert. That's a massive one that I think people can start to do right away.
Yeah, ultimately, and kind of as we touched on at the very beginning, it's about understanding your customers and what challenges they have. So speaking to your customers is a real underrated, I suppose, aspect of actually finding out. So speaking to your actual customers, or speaking to the people who speak to your customers every day and finding out what their concerns are. And this works across both B2B and B2C. Is really getting to understand what their particular pain points are. We've talked about a couple of examples there, maybe of typical type of blockers, but every website is different. And that's why there's no cookie cutter approach to having a best website, because everyone's customer base is different as well.
Yeah, I think the other important thing to communicate is it doesn't always have to be like huge overhauls to the website or change or style or things like that, right? Often very small changes that are causing a lot of friction can have a big impact. So if people are thinking, I love the idea of this, but I'd have to get brand involved and dev and all this kind of stuff, it's not often the case, right? When you start to do this customer research and look at what's happening, it's often just adding a little bit more information or removing a little bit of friction from the site that can have a massive impact.
Yeah, it's kind of really about those often those small value adds that you can introduce to a page to help convince someone and allay the fear they might have around something. A really good example of a really small change I made to a website a few years ago was for a brand that the customer had a fear that they might be buying grey versions of that product. So products that weren't the region lot sold at reduced price outside their market, they bring them to the country they're in. You don't have the support, you don't have a genuine product, you can't take it to the shop, get it repaired. And so really just emphasizing that you're buying from the genuine retailer for this region kind of had a massive improvement, and it was such a small change to make to the website.
Yeah, good tip there. So a question that I know I get asked by clients on almost every sales call: what is a good conversion rate?
Yes, the tale as old as time. What is a good conversion rate? And I suppose the answer there is kind of a classic fence sitting. It depends. So there are industry benchmarks out there that you can look at, and they'll give you a baseline conversion rate for potential industries. But really, they're not of a lot of value. And that's because conversion rate is determined by a range of factors. So the quality of your traffic obviously plays a massive role in that. The competitiveness of your pricing. Are you in a sale? Is someone else really discounting at the moment? Availability of stock, seasonality. You're not going to sell many Christmas trees in July. It's all those play into what affects your conversion rate over time. And so kind of looking at it as what is a good conversion rate is super contextual. I think what's important is, regardless of kind of what a good conversion rate is, it's to look about that actually it can be better and you can incrementally improve that. And so that kind of intense focus on improvement is really what drives success, rather than just having a good conversion rate. And you see the power of that in kind of industry leaders like Amazon, Netflix, Booking.com, Duolingo. They don't settle for kind of good enough. Like, our conversion rate's good. They kind of have a real focus on customer experience, improving that. And that's what's allowed those businesses to evolve and grow to the point where they're like the super brands of the kind of the internet and online.
Yeah, totally makes sense. And to kind of reiterate your point, your conversion rate is your conversion rate, right? It's okay if yours is 5% and you find out that Joe Blogs next door is 20%. Well, you are where you're at and you need to get it up. But also, I think these benchmark reports are just incredibly misleading. Like, the conversion rate of what? Like, are you talking about transactions? Are you talking about people doing a search? So I think take all that with a pinch of salt. Ultimately, is what is yours today? And are you incrementally increasing that, as you said, like all the best companies who just have this constant mindset of never-ending improvement? Yeah,
to give some real context to that, you can improve your conversion rate in two ways. Reduce your price to 1 pence or 1 cent, depending on where you are, for each product. You'll sell more, but you won't make more money, but your conversion rate will be much higher. Or if you turn off all your marketing activity and just have your really core customers who come to your website because they know they want to buy something, or they know they want to get in touch with you, then you're gonna your conversion rate will be much higher. But in practice, it's just it's a fluctuating tide of who's coming to your website, and that's not going to lead to growth. But to improve those experiences for everyone, it is.
Yeah, and I think you're right. Conversion rate is the means to the end, right? It's actually not conversion rate optimization, it's revenue optimization. Because like you said, you can play with all these other levers, your revenue is going to go down, but your conversion rate will go up. So the focus is on revenue and all these other levers. Conversion rate is just the name of the program that the industry has given it, but the eye needs to be on lots of other areas in the business.